I have the great pleasure of speaking with Casey Chatelain of Horsley Witten Group. So Casey grew up in New York, but spent her summers on Cape Cod. After graduating from the College of the Holy Cross with a BA degree in environmental science studies, Casey moved to Cape Cod to work for Barnstable Land Trust. While getting her master's degree, Casey joined Barnstable Clean Water Coalition, where she worked for 4 years before recently joining Horsley Witten. Casey now lives in Brewster with her husband, Paul, and volunteers with the Cape Cod Young Professionals, the Brewster Board of Health, and is vice chair of the Brewster Conservation Commission. I will also add that Casey is a 2022 graduate of Leadership Cape Cod, which is how our paths cross. So Casey, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. So Casey, I'm hoping you can share some insights with our students about your own STEM career journey. So if you could kind of start by giving us a brief overview of your position at Horsley Witten and what the company does in general.
Yeah, so I am currently an environmental scientist with the Horsley Witten Group. And for those of you that are unfamiliar, our very basic overview is that we're an environmental science and engineering firm, and we do engineering, design, science, planning, training, and outreach, which is a lot. And so specifically as an environmental scientist, my role really depends on the projects we have for any given week. So tomorrow, for instance, I'll be out helping doing some survey work for a project out in East Ham, but I've been helping to do categorizing public comment for a proposed determination by EPA in Alaska. I've been doing research for septic effluent disposal in the US Virgin Islands, and I'll be helping doing some stormwater management work here on Cape. So there's really a lot of stuff going on here, not just for Cape Cod, but really across the world that I get to be a part of.
Sounds really interesting. Certainly sounds like every day is probably a little bit different and doesn't sound like it gets mundane.
No, there's never a dull moment here, and every day is different, which I really love personally.
Yeah. So how did you get to Horsley Witten and what was your personal journey like? Is this the path you intended to take, or like so many other people, was your journey a little bit windier?
It was definitely more of a ping pong back and forth as I found myself and I found my passions when I was in undergrad at Holy Cross. I just kind of knew I liked the environment, question mark. And so that led me to work for Barnstable Land Trust, as you mentioned. And while I was there, I was really fortunate enough to be asked to consider applying to be a citizen member of the town of Barnstable's Water Resources Advisory Committee. And so a lot of the towns on Cape Cod, all the towns have citizen-run committees that help deal with a lot of the issues facing the town. And this particular committee dealt with the wastewater in the town of Barnstable, and that opened my eyes to the water quality issues facing the region. And that in turn inspired me to go get a master's degree, a master's of oceanography. And then I came back to work for Barnstable Clean Water Coalition to help to start to tackle those issues. And, I just started just last month here at Horsley Witten Group, really because I wanted to be involved in more and more of these sorts of projects. Barnstable Clean Water Coalition was a wonderful opportunity for me where I got to really work hands-on on a couple of projects that really will make a meaningful impact for the region, but I wanted to work on more. And so that's how I ended up applying and becoming an employee of Horsley Witten Group. Cool. Not a straight path at all.
But I can see how all of those things would eventually tie in. And I'm sure like any industry, we think of this really broad, sort of these different industries with these broad titles, but they can probably get very small and narrowed down. And you're probably crossing over paths with people that you met years ago. which is all kind of a fun part of the career experience as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I am still talking with people in this role, with people I talked to when I was in a role at Barnstable Land Trust. Here on the Cape, the environmental world is big but small at the same time, in which there's a lot of stuff going on, but there's a lot of the same people working on them. So no matter where you're at, you cross paths a lot.
Yeah. I know one of the things I like about being here at the Workforce Board is that you get to see things from a different level because you're really working and engaging with people in the community. And I wonder how if that impacts some of the enjoyment. I know you love what you do. I know you love your career, and is sort of giving back to the community in that way part of what drives you as well.
Yes, it's why I sit on the Brewster Conservation Commission in particular, is that I now, through the years, have developed this knowledge and this skill set as an environmental scientist. And I know when I talk to people who don't have that background, I tend to maybe talk over their heads a little bit using too technical of language. But that then has inspired me to then help out in the community and apply that knowledge that not everybody has, that can really be put to good work.
Well, I know whenever we had an environmental topic when we were doing Leadership Cape Cod, we would all just sort of turn and look to you because we knew that you were the expert. So you definitely developed that reputation, and for good reason, because you're doing the good work. So
I'm certainly trying. There's always more to go, but it's opportunities like this and helping folks realize that while it can be complicated, if you're really passionate, it's something that you can get into relatively simply because there's so many opportunities in the environmental sphere. I mean, I mentioned 3 or 4 of them just to get to the point I'm at today. By no means a straight path, and you can get your foot into any one of those.
interesting, really interesting. So I feel like when we talk about STEM, specifically STEM education, that there can sometimes be this misconception that it's all about either research work or that, that very sort of intense scientific study. And we're trying to expose more students to those STEM careers because we know that they really are very varied and changing every day. I mean, some of the careers that students are going to have 5 years from now, those careers haven't even been developed yet. So there's so much more to explore. So aside from your interest in science, when you look back on the success of your career, or even when you're, talking to other folks in the field, are there certain traits or attributes that you could point to as being helpful to someone succeeding in a role such as yours?
I mean, Silene, I think you touched right on it. That is not just sitting in a laboratory and working on science. For me, the most value I've gotten was that both at Holy Cross and with my master's program, it was not just strict science. I got to take policy and economics and other environmental related classes that then in turn impact the science. But STEM is way, way more than putting on a lab coat and sitting with a Bunsen burner all day. And the opportunities that I've had, and hopefully people think I've been able to succeed in them, at least I think I have, it's gotten me this far, has really been because I took the opportunity to take a step back, more general approach and have a more wide ranging background than pick biogeochemistry as my specialty.
Interesting. Yeah. And it's really refreshing to hear you talk about that, especially as a woman in the STEM field, because I think for a long time, again, there were those misconceptions about who were the types of folks that entered that field. Do you feel like you're seeing more women or do you feel that women are being encouraged at an earlier age to at least explore, not that it's for everyone, but at least to, scratch the surface a little bit.
I mean, I think I can't exactly say why the numbers have increased. But I mean, here at Horsley Witten, like, I think we're like the people that are actually here in the office physically on this very day is like 70% women. There's a lot of women that work for Horsley Witten. And I can't pinpoint why that may or may not be, but I think you're absolutely right that just telling people from a young age that this profession, these career paths are for everyone, no matter who you are, I think is really important part of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. We definitely, in the work we do as well, try to reach underrepresented populations in a variety of fields, and STEM being one of them. I think you're right. It's very welcoming to, whoever has the, the opportunity and the interest in learning more. There's a lot of opportunities for access. So, in sort of wrapping up, now that you look back, wondering if you have any words of wisdom or advice for young professionals just starting out, maybe some things you wish you had known at a younger age.
My word of wisdom is, because I was asked for this recently at a career panel, is let others say no for you. If you don't think you meet all of the qualifications for a job, let them tell you that. That committee that I said inspired me to go get my master's of oceanography, I had first seen that and said, there's no way I would be a contributing member to this. There's no way they want me, and wasn't going to apply until a member of the town council said, can you think about applying for this? And so that really put it in my head. That was 10 years ago now, to always let someone else say no. If I think I want something, and even if I don't think I'm fully qualified for it, if I never apply, I'm never going to get it.
Great advice. I think whether you're newly starting your career, or a little bit more of a veteran like myself, those are, that's advice that we can all take to heart and really learn from. So on a lighter note, where do we find you when you're not at Horsley Witten and doing your environmental science gig? Where do we find you on the Cape?
You find me outside somewhere, some way, whether it's out sailing, gardening. I mean, we've got chickens and bees and a pollinator garden and barn cat and a dog. Outside whenever possible. The words of wisdom that have been passed down to me are, there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothing. And so you can always be outside.
You're full of great advice today, Casey.
I try, just for you, Silene.
I'm so glad we could do this. I really, I know the impact that you're having on the Cape. Again, I know people look to you as a leader in this field. There's so much work to be done. There's so many challenges that we face, from wastewater to housing to a myriad of things. And I think it's so inspiring to see people like yourself, at this juncture in your career, really making a difference and not sort of waiting for other people to be part of the solution. So we're really grateful to you for the work that you do. I know, this interview is going to inspire our students, from all across the Cape and everyone to think a little bit more about opportunities in STEM. And we hope to talk to you again really soon.
Thank you so much, Silene. This is a wonderful opportunity to reach those kids. So it was wonderful talking to you today.
Excellent. Come back and visit again.
Oh, you got it.
All right. Thanks, Casey.